Hi there. My name is Angela, and I'm here to talk about a wonderful subject, which I hope helps you in your personal empowerment. We are going to discuss, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to my classroom. And today, very exciting subject, we're going to talk about Mercury in retrograde and today's full moon and how the full moon can benefit you. You know the full moon can benefit you, but in a different way. You see, you could harness the energy of the full moon in order to counteract the negative situations or negative energies that most people relate with Mercury in retrograde. So I have done some extensive studies, and I have found that in fact Mercury in retrograde is not as bad as you think, that you can actually harness positive energy for your personal empowerment, and especially more powerful, more amplified and heightened with the full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. So we have a water element, the moon, and we have a water sign. So it's double water, which is very positive, very flowing, very feminine in nature, and also for your intuition. And for people out there that study metaphysics and perhaps are studying how to become a psychic medium or just getting involved in any metaphysical subject matter, you could actually do very well this time of season. Now, I also want to discuss the difference between having the different elements in Mercury in retrograde. When the full moon is perhaps in Aries or in Leo, it is a fire sign. So Aries and Leo are fire signs. So you might have more of a conflict situation at hand. So that's when you have to be more or less more careful, think about what you say, think about perhaps putting off certain major decisions because you could possibly get a little bit hasty and not make the proper decisions. But you don't have to worry about that right now, because right now our focus is going to be on speaking about having the water element in this wonderful full moon and Mercury in retrograde, which actually started October 31st on All Hallows Eve, Halloween. And it will end on November 20th. But keep in mind that there is an approximate 2-week, give or take, of retrograde, where Mercury in retrograde is still there. It's not completely gone, but we have a benefit now, right? Because I just told you that this particular season, this time of the year, is Mercury in retrograde. It's not so bad at all. It's time for you to focus on personal empowerment. Now you have an extra 2 weeks to get that retrograde in hand. So first we're going to discuss this full moon of today, November 11th, 2019, the year of our Lord 2019. First of all, we have a power number 2 times. November is the 11th month, and today is the 11th day of the 11th month. Now, I don't know if you know about numerology, but I'm going to save that for my next video. But we have a wonderful numerological from metaphysics in numerology. It's a power number, it's a master number. So we have that to our benefit as well. So timing is everything, and here we are with 1111. So that works out very well. And 2019, if you just break it down to the 19, 9 and 1 is 10, that's a 1. So now you also have the energy of the ones. So let's move on to talk about Mercury in retrograde. So now this is a beaver full moon, also known as a frost moon. There are other names to it, but basically we are going to call this particular full moon the beaver full moon. Now think about what beavers do. This is the time of year, the reason why they call it the beaver moon is this is the time of year that beavers start to prepare for the winter, for the harsh elements. They start to build their dams. And what is in fact a dam? Well, it's their protective home. They're building their protective environment. So if you think about this particular full moon being a beaver moon, this is the time to enhance and amplify any type of protective property that you may need. You may need, in particular, for psychic attacks. I don't believe in psychic attacks, but I do put intent in my mind to avoid that type of negativity. But we all know there is negativity in the world. So this is a wonderful full moon, along with Mercury in retrograde, for you to protect yourself in a more enhanced and amplified nature. So we have the full beaver moon today, Monday, November 11th, 2019. Think about today is a Monday. Another plus. Monday is the day for the moon. It's Luna Day. In Spanish and Italian, you have the word Luna. In Italian, Luna is the moon. I happen to be of Italian extraction. So there you go. One of my other names that I go by, Strega Italiano. So that's Italian strega or Italian witch. Now, I don't like to really think of myself as a witch that belongs to a particular sect. I don't. I am a solitary metaphysician. I work on my own. I study on my own. And it's a subject matter that I've always been enthralled with, and in fact have been studying it very, very closely for the past 10 years. Before that, I had my own natural abilities, a lot of interest in crystals and metaphysics, in tarot. I was always enthralled with it. And I always had an intuition that was very uncanny, and I had very prophetic dreams. So this, I call myself Strega Italiano because especially my grandmother comes from, may she rest in peace, she comes from a place in Italy called Benevento. And that is where the Stregheria, the Strega, the witches actually come from. So it's a very powerful place to be. And here you are, I have that in my genealogy. So we're going to talk about Monday, corresponding to the moon. We have the full beaver moon for protection. We have the number 11 in numerology is a power master number. So this is the time to really get into the nitty gritty and to protect yourself well, utilizing and harnessing the power of the moon with Mercury in retrograde. We're going to talk about how they look alike, the moon and Mercury. Well, I did some research, and guess what? It's absolutely uncanny how much they look alike. And here are their properties and how they look alike. First of all, they have rocky, cratered surfaces, and they're composed primarily of basalt, which is like a volcanic rock, a magnetite. In Mercury, it's black and dark gray, and silicates, such as the family of quartz, amethyst, citrine, quartz, clear quartz, that is rose quartz, smoky quartz, all agates. Lava rock, magnetite, obsidian. Obsidian, you know, the glassine nature of obsidian, like Apache tears, black obsidian, the obsidian scrying bowls, or the plates that if you're into scrying, you could utilize obsidian very well because it's very glassy in nature, like a mirror. Labradorite. Olivine is a peridot. Peridot is the gem quality crystal of olivine. So labradorite is a feldspar. So these, the moon and Mercury, are comprised of these type of crystals and many more that I haven't really mentioned or gone into. I mean, we're talking lava rock, think about that, volcanic. They both lack an atmosphere. because the sun blew the sun's power, the solar winds just blew it away and destroyed their atmosphere. So not only are they a rocky, cratered surface comprised of very similar rock formations, they also have no atmosphere. Another thing is that their rotation is tidally locked. What do I mean by tidally locked? So, when they rotate, they actually, you only see one side. You always see one side. You know, when you look at the moon doesn't keep turning, where you see the dark side and then the light side. We only see one side of the moon. That is it. There is the other side of the moon, but we never see it. It's tidally locked. It's the same thing with Mercury. With Mercury, you would only see the same side. If we look here from, if we, for instance, have a telescope that's very powerful, you'll always see that same side. The other side is always facing the sun. They both have volcanic activity. Well, of course, think about where all the lava rocks are coming from, where all the obsidian and all the family of quartz, that's all created through heat and pressure and volcanic activity. So they have, which I never realized this for Mercury, they both, the moon and Mercury, both have evidence of polar ice caps. Can you imagine Mercury being so close to the sun? Yet, they both have evidence of polar ice caps. Now, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. So, I wanted to say, most important, I took some notes because this is all very new. I just started to study this subject literally yesterday. All this information came to me intuitively. And so then I moved forward and looked into more facts in the nitty gritty. So I took some notes, so bear with me. And this is also my first video. Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. I started to think about the similarities. The moon is the satellite closest to Earth. Well, that means that they both share a similar characteristic or trait. They're both the closest to their host. They share the characteristic of being the closest body to a larger host. And Mercury orbits the host star, which is the sun. The sun is not a planet, it's a star. And the moon orbits our planet Earth. Silver is a predominant color, which is associated with both Mercury and the sun. And now I'll move on to these notes that I took here. They both have a reflective surface. Of course they do. The moon has a reflected surface, and in fact, when the moon is full, they are in direct alignment with the sun, and that's why you see such a brightness and a light that the moon normally doesn't have. Their crust both contain metals like aluminum and titanium, and both have hot days and cold nights. Now think about it. Because they also don't rotate, like they don't move in a rotation, a circle. It's just they do orbit, but they stay there. It's a little bit difficult. I'm not an astronomer, but I could explain that you only see one side. When I'm looking at the moon, that's the same side that I'm going to see next month, the full moon. I'm not going to see the dark side of the moon. You would actually have to travel to the dark side of the moon, or travel to the light side of Mercury. But we really don't want to do that, do we? Because it's too hot there. Their days are over 800 degrees. Can you imagine? The day's temperature, the daily temperature on the moon is over 300 degrees. It could get very cold at night on both the moon and Mercury, so they share that trait as well. And both contain magnetic rock. Now, I wanted to mention that magnetite is a magnetic rock. And I'm going to show you an example. I'm not going to get into crystals so much right now. I'll save that for my next video, because I could do like a 2-hour video. You're going to get bored with that. I just want to show you, this is olivine, in a raw form, and it was just polished so that you could see the green color, and you see here it's gray. Well, this is magnetic. This is found on Mercury as well. This came from the Earth, our Earth. But this could also be found on Mercury. And in fact, it can be found on the moon as well, because they have very similar rocks and minerals, both on the moon and on Mercury. So why am I telling you that? Because it's all about trying to enhance your knowledge and empower yourself. Do not be afraid of Mercury in retrograde. It's not as bad as you think. Look at all the similarities. Are we afraid of the full moon? We love the moon. We love the different quarters. We love the new moon. There are uses and purposes metaphysically. They have metaphysical properties that we can utilize depending on the cycle. Well, it's the same thing with Mercury in retrograde. The only thing I would say to be more alert about, a little bit more careful, is when Mercury in retrograde coincides with a full moon in a fire sign. Then I would say maybe it's not the best time to do certain things. But I'm telling you, from the research I've done and from my intuition and all the information that just came out of nowhere, I could tell you that this is a very good time, positive time. Today is the full moon. I hope you're watching this today. If you're not watching it on the day of the full moon, no worries. You will be empowered with the message that I'm trying to bring you, not to be so, concerned when it's Mercury in retrograde, not to be so alarmed. There's nothing to be alarmed about. It's actually a good thing. Mercury is a wonderful planet. Think about it. We need the moon, right? If we didn't have the moon controls our tides. If we didn't have Mercury, now we would be out one planet closest to the sun. We wouldn't want that, would we? So, all in all, I'm going to end this particular video by saying thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I am going to post my next video going more in detail with the particular crystals that I also have that I could show you that will empower you and will help you to amplify your intentions. And of course, another thing I wanted to mention, which is key, is intention is key. Now, when you're utilizing crystals, you have an intention that you're putting into that, a thought process of why you need that crystal. When you're thinking about the different cycles of the moon, the purpose is the intent that you're putting into it. The full moon is a time for manifestation. Now, that's the first time I said that word. I'm saving it the best for last because I'm telling you that it's all about manifestation. Intent is something that you want, right? So you're intending to manifest a particular thing in your life, could be a particular role, it could be a relationship, it could be a wish, a dream, a goal, something that you really want. So this is the perfect time for manifestation. In my next videos, I'm going to be doing the correlation and correspondence of Mercury in retrograde and the full moon in terms of numerology, in terms of crystal, in terms of tarot. So we are going to be discussing that in the next videos. I'll probably do 2 more videos because I'd like to keep it a little bit on the shorter side because I understand that you're all busy. You don't have a lot of time to sit and listen to all these videos. And this is my first official video that I'm going to be posting on YouTube for purposes of teaching, of sharing my knowledge. And it's like a workshop. So I'm going to be showing you crystals. I'm going to be talking about numerology. I'm going to be talking about tarot and how it fits in with the full moon, how it fits in particular to Mercury in retrograde this one that we have now, that began on All Hallows Eve on October 31st, 2019, and will end approximately November 20th, 2019, right, a week or so before Thanksgiving, but will have a retro shade of approximately 2 weeks. This is the time to take advantage of it. So on that note, thank you so much. God bless you all.